What is super fishy about this ranked account and led me to believe that this guy is a booster or he engaged in boosting services? I'll give you a hint. This champion right here. In today's live profile review session, so I jump on a call with this guy who's literally gotten to D2 in under 100 games with a 71% win rate playing Katarina. I am going to jump in. Firstly, I ask him, is he a booster? He tells me why he isn't a booster and what he was trying to achieve. And then we talk about exactly what he needs to do to go from Diamond 2 to Masters, which is his natural skill ceiling. And then what he needs to do to take that next step of going from Masters to GM on the EUS server, and why he doesn't play his Katarina at an 85% win rate, but he switched to his 80 carry, which is averaging around a 61% win rate in 23 games. This is a bit of a long call, but for players who are in the top 2 to 3% or anyone who's above D4, I think it's a really educational and insightful video about when to look for coaching, what to look out for in coaching, and just how to improve generally and beat that natural skill ceiling that all players get to. Before we get into the review, however, if you're interested in getting your profile reviewed live on a Discord call or pre-record and I just send it to your inbox, check out the link in the description below. Let's get into the call. Awesome. So how these reviews usually go is I review your stats. Just before we get to that though, was this account boosted by any chance? It doesn't really matter. I'm just curious because of the Katarina.
It's a for fun account. Like when it was lower elo, before, like when it was like Platinum 1, before like friends were also playing on it. Like it's like I have been master in the past for multiple times, but I look like to like but I can't get past like if I get matched like with let's say like 300 LP players, I feel like my win rate or like kinda like it master like it's like it's not like I'm smurfing anymore,
Got it. Okay. Okay, so this is like what happened to your other accounts, or is this your main account now?
No, it's not a main. Like I don't really have a main because I tend to usually like play accounts to like master 1LP and then sell them, and before I have not been.
Yeah.
What?
I just said nice. Sorry. I'm just. That's all good. Yeah, keep going.
And before in the past, like I don't want to say I didn't care about improve, but I thought like, yeah, well, like just try. But like at this point, I feel like the thing for myself that I keep looking at and I can't get like really better at it is like kind of mid-lane, mid-game lane assignment in terms of having like consistently high CS. It's like because I feel like when I watch like challenger players smurfing in master or like GM, like they have always consistent CS.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I will say like one of the most important things for AD carry, having a consistent income.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I think having good CS isn't really the thing that you need to improve. It's all the things that lead to good CS, which is like consistency, recall timers, all those kind of things. So I think you are on the right track, and I do agree that usually if you have a high consistent source of income, you're probably doing a lot of other things right as well, which is important. And so what have you tried to improve that problem or any of your other issues? Have you ever tried anything like watching pro players, getting coaching or anything like that?
I have in the past, I have been watching like sometimes like there are VODs of, let's say, Reckless or Gumayushi.
Yep.
But then I thought, after some time, I thought it's not that helpful to watch a challenger player play with challengers because, for example, like the supports treat them like their own and enemy, like everyone plays differently than in my game. So I thought, after watching someone's not that helpful. Then I watched a guy called Cookie Lol, but due to his incidents, I was like, maybe not. But even though I will say like things of him that I watched was like kind of helpful, but like yeah, because of like, you know, like
no, for sure. I get it. Okay, so you might be looking for another streamer then who you can watch and kind of learn from. Is that
yes, and but for me it's hard to find, like, let's say, I haven't really found someone who's like master plus and like doing educational, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we've got he's a challenger coach, but he usually plays on his other accounts around the master, GM, high diamond level. And he streams quite regularly and does educational content. So I think definitely I'll send you his link to his Twitch into your Discord after this call, and you can definitely check him out. One, just to see if his content is right for you, but also, are you interested in getting coached, or is that something you're just not interested in? You're trying to find ways.
No, I'm in general interested into getting coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking at your level, like where you're D2 on this account, for example, and you've peaked masters and you kind of get accounts to masters. It seems like you keep hitting this ceiling, and everything you're doing on your own isn't working, and so you've almost got to try something new. Or you can kind of keep just doing what you're doing and trying to reach that breakthrough on your own. But I think it's time you need someone to actually like look at your gameplay and break it down from an outside perspective. Because I think every player, when you get into your own gameplay and you try and review it and you try and look at what you're doing wrong, you can pick up certain things, but there's also going to be a lot of things that are missing. And I feel like that's what's happening with you, because it sounds like you're putting in a lot of improvement or a lot of time to try and improve, and you are seeking out the right sources, but they're just not personalized enough to your specific issues. Does that sound kind of accurate?
Yeah, that's like, if like, I have friends, like when I sit with friends in Discord, and they are like, oh yeah, people in me, I couldn't carry this, and then we are like I don't know, I watch their game and I'm like, oh, like they're like, I see multiple things that technically could have been done differently, but of course every time there are things like in every game that could have been differently. But when I watch my own, it's like majorly like I don't know, like a couple of things, and of course the deaths where you can say like could have been done differently. But I don't know, like me watching my own is just like I can't give myself good criticism.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's super tough because you live the game as well, and there's all the emotion. Like, there's a lot of things that are stopping you from making good judgment and good decisions to actually improve when you watch your replay. So that makes perfect sense. And, it's pretty impressive that you've gotten this far. You're able to get to masters multiple times and sell accounts. That's very impressive. So I think you've got the potential. You just need someone now to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, like, do you think like that it's technically possible in a time of like just as an example? Yeah, okay, I'm not saying like I want to improve in a specific time amount or something.
Yeah,
like it's just like I don't care like what elo I'm like, let's say in 5 months, but but what I'm looking for is just generally like to see some kind of improvement. And of course, when I know, like in my head, I'm like, okay, but if I get it to become more consistently, like my peak will also go up.
Yeah.
So I mainly bother about being in general more consistent.
Yeah, and reaching an all-time peak, in the next 6 to
Yeah,
12
yeah,
months or
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah,
And so what I'd suggest is like, yeah, again, there's no guarantees on you can climb to X amount of rank, just like you said, and you're not too concerned about that. But it's definitely possible, like master players getting coached or improving to GM, like it happens, right? Because that's the only way to get to grandmasters. Firstly, so
yeah,
it's definitely possible, and we've seen. I know Coach Saj has gotten players there. I would say not by the end of this split, because I think that's in, I don't know how many days, maybe 20, 30 days, but by the end of the year, if this account can get to, masters by the end of this split, and then you've got a whole split to focus on going from, you do your placements, you place around like diamond or plat, then you get to masters, and then that road to GM is definitely achievable by the end of this year. But again, it comes really down to two things. It comes down to, one, your dedication to improve, like giving up, veering from strategy, tilting, all these kind of things, or like, suddenly deciding to try a new champion and then you throw your games out the window, as well as frequency of coaching. Because, you could find you have one session and you're like, this is great for 2 months. And then you come back again and you're like, okay, that was really good. I was able to improve for 2 months and now I've hit another plateau and then I need another session. Or sometimes players want once a month or once every 2 weeks.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what I would suggest is, yeah, it is possible in the short answer. And then what I'd suggest for someone like you is you have one coaching session, see how it goes, and then you'll be able to immediately go after that session and be like, oh shit, I think I can now just climb on my own for the next 1 to 2 months or whatever with this knowledge. Or, oh shit, I think I can climb to GM with all this knowledge, and then you just go for it. Or you'll be like, okay, I need to see this coach again, and I need to, once I've improved this, once I've fixed that, then I need to see him again to fix the next problem and the next problem. Because really, when you're going from masters to GM, you don't have major issues like a gold player does, or a silver player does, or a platinum player does. You have very minor issues that are going to be like, okay, here's the list of like 5 to 6 things that are currently holding you back from masters to GM. And here's what you need to do to fix them. It could be volume of games. It could be practice tool. It could be sitting down with your coach and reviewing, multiple laning phases, so you figure out why your CS isn't consistent in your first 15 minutes, which then sets up your mid-late game.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Will the coach also explain to me, like, let's say, I have like, let's say, like he will tell me like 5 things like I will need to work on, but then also, like, for me as an example, I play the game, of course, or like everyone plays the game in a way where they think, okay, this is good, and then like it leads to them winning.
Yeah.
But then, like, but on the other hand, sometimes, like, I'm not even sure if that's like exactly the right thing, but it just works for me. But things just, like, I think personally, like oftentimes there are like plays that work but are not good in general.
Yeah, so they're good in the context, but fundamentally it's a bad play. You'd never see Faker do that play as an example.
Yeah,
but again,
yeah.
It's because, like you said earlier, he's playing in a near perfect environment, whereas you're playing in a not near perfect environment. Do you know what I mean? Where, you are going to have those games where you can get away with doing risky shit. And obviously, as you climb higher and higher, that, those become less and less likely. But it'll still always be a factor. Yeah.
Do you think for like challenger players, like lane assignment and I don't mean rotations, but like to which lane you go and catch CS, do you think this is like, I don't want to say it's like muscle memory, but do you think the players do it on autopilot, or do you think they have to like really actually think every time like they go base, and like, like, of course, I mean, you have to somewhat check the map, but
Yeah.
I feel like when I watch them, like, it's like they do it just from habit, you know.
Yeah, and
Like,
so it's because like the theory of rotations and lane assignment has been worked out, right? So it's like like chess, how there's like opening moves and you do it in this exact set order. That's the exact same
yeah,
with League of Legends in theory, right? There's the perfect rotation, the perfect lane assignment for every single situation, and you see that particularly the Korean and Chinese teams in pro play, you see them getting closer and closer to that perfection of theory into practice, right? Where they're, getting 11 CS per minute, 12 CS per minute, and they're still in every fight, right? But in a solo queue environment, you're just never going to get there because the communication's not there. There's a much greater degree of skill disparity, as well as you haven't played with the 9 other people on the map before. So there's a lot more unpredictability. And I think what is important for a player like you is understanding the perfect theory of this is what I should do now, this is what I should do in 5 minutes based on this XYZ, but also then actually going, well, okay, in this game specifically, I can't do the optimal play because my support died, or because my mid lane won't rotate down to bot lane and catch that wave after I rotated mid when they died, as an example. So it's actually going, okay, I know the theory, and now I know how to put it into a practice and adapt it based on the context of what I'm currently dealing with. Because if you can try and force the perfect theory play, but your team doesn't understand it and isn't responding, you're going to end up making a mistake. Which I think that's what you were explaining as well. So yeah, it is possible to learn that, and that is important.
yeah, sometimes I feel also, for example, flip, because I think technically every decision someone makes in a game should be based on themselves. Like, even if let's say my support pings to go go into enemy jungle, I should think myself, okay, is this good or not, and not just flip it and go with him, without thinking about it. And for example, what I have, regardless if it's in Diamond or Master, sometimes it's my supports are annoyed of sitting back and freezing, so they want to force me, so we do stuff, and then I don't know, but enemy jungle was just waiting for this, and then it messes also a bit with the mental. So sometimes
Yeah, and that's that's that classic solo queue skill disparity, right? As well as your support could have just come off a 4-game losing streak and is tilted out of their mind, and they just want to kind of almost run it down, right? So it's there's so many variables about why that could happen. And yeah, as you said, you've just got to be an independent thinker and critically analyze, exactly. If your support's going off into the jungle, critically think, okay, should I go off? And, you make the rational assessment on what is the enemy bot lane's position? Do I know where the enemy jungler is? What's my ally jungler doing? Do we have mid pro? I think you're, again, on the right track, and these things can be worked on and improved, and particularly that's going to be done through game reviews. But it also sounds like you're pretty much on the right track. It'll be mostly linking it back to consistency, where if you're playing 8 games in a row, your 7th and 8th game, you're going to be playing at a worse quality than your first and second, right? And that can't really be improved through a coach telling you what to do. That can only be improved through actually giving your brain a rest, or making sure you're not tilted and you keep queuing up, for example, which are completely in your control. And a coach can say, play in blocks of 3 and take a break and never play more than 2 losses in a row, as an example. But at the end of the day, you have to apply that to help your own gameplay out and kind of know your limits.
Yeah, sometimes I have it, friends also tell me to stop playing when I'm tilted, but sometimes I have it, I feel like I'm not tilted. Let's say I start the day, I go into a game, and every other lane loses, and we lose the game, okay, but then I go into the next game, and I don't know, top lane, mid lane dies, and they are go next, and I'm bro, I just lost the game. Don't say at 5 minutes go next,
Yeah.
This is sometimes it's not frustrating me, but it's then I get the danger feeling of I don't know, them getting tilted, not moving to objectives or something later.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's
Would you say this is tilt?
If people wanting to FF and like people wanting to give up is affecting your in-game decision making at any level, I would define that as tilt, yes. So
Okay.
if you're finding your team's performances or decisions are affecting negatively your performance and decisions in a aspect of where like, okay, my top laner is 0-3, so we can't do Rift Herald. That's not tilted. But then if you're like, my top lane is 0-3 and I'm not going to go to dragon, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense because, you know, that's got nothing to do with the dragon fight, or, you know, that's kind of a bad example. But it's like, if it starts affecting, like, because it's just logical, right? You don't try and contest Rift if you've got the weaker top laner, right? Because the enemy top lane is just going to dumpster him, get pro, and it's going to be a 3v2 or whatever, as an example. And so you would rationally make that correct call not tilted because you'd be like, yeah, my top lane is losing. So it's more about being objective of going, oh, okay, this is the current game state, and then leaving it at that and not letting it get emotional because it's just a game and your top lane is lost, right? And the only thing you can do to make this game winnable is to keep trying to make as most optimal decisions as possible. So if you do feel yourself getting tilted in that game too, well, then you've got to be a little bit of aware of when you do have a game where all three lanes lose and it's a quick defeat and you queue up again even though you're not feeling tilted, maybe you should take a 5-15 minute break and just decompress a bit and then queue up again. Because you're not really losing anything by taking a 10-15 minute break. You're just going to let off a bit of steam and cool down a bit and reset the mental a bit.
All right. How much the coach you are about to recommend, how much does he, like, how much does he cost per hour, and does he offer bundles?
Yeah, for sure. So he usually does 60 to 90 minute sessions, really just depending on the need of the session. So sometimes it'll go for 60, other times it'll go for 90. Usually your first session, it does go a little longer. And that includes like a spreadsheet as well. So he'll give you basically homework to do based on the review, as well as, you know, your champion pool, where you want to get to, what are the things that he thinks are holding you back, as well as the things that you think are holding you back, and kind of building a list of homework for you to do, which is why I said sometimes you can go a little bit longer without coaching. But yeah, his individual sessions start from 47.5 USD. So that is about, I would say, is it like 45 euros? I'm not sure with the current conversions. And then I'll have to ask him about bundles. If you could give me so firstly, is that within your budget?
Yeah, like I will prefer maybe not like for the first session, but like after, to, let's say, like, depending on how much how much I
yeah, how much you value it, and see if you actually need more sessions.
I would
for
like
sure.
something like let's say like 3-hour bundle.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. All right, I'll make sure I ask Coach Saj as he sets his prices. So I'll make sure I ask him based on his demand and his popularity. Cool. 3-hour bundle. Are there any other bundles you just want example prices of? And obviously you're not committing to this, as you said. It'll be that first session and then see how you go. But I can ask him if there's any other bundles that you want.
Yeah. Is he is it possible, like, do you think the person will, like, let's say, you know, like, you had a session and, like, you know, like, I can imagine at the end of a session people are like, you know, you have any questions, but maybe later on, like 30 minutes after the session, I get into my head a question. Do you think, like, I could write that to the person and he will, like, in text form reply to it, or like only when a session is happening?
No, of course. Sorry, yeah. That's a great question, because I know some coaches literally won't reply to you because they see that as a transaction or something, and you should pay for that question. But at lolcoach Academy, we're happy to answer questions after sessions, like half an hour, a day later, particularly if it's about exactly what we just talked about, for example. There might be
Yeah.
delay in reply because he's a full-time coach, so he does 8-hour
Yeah, I
days
mean, that's-
coaching.
that's-
But he won't not reply. And
Okay.
he won't be like, no, you got to charge, like, you pay me $2 for that reply, which some coaches do. So it's a really great question.
Yeah.
Because it does happen. But yeah, good question. No.
Yeah. What is the name of the? You said, I think the streamer and the coach is the same person, right?
Yeah. So I'll get up his Twitch for you, and you can add him on Discord as well. Let me. Sorry, I don't have his. There you go. I'll send you his Twitch now in the Discord. And then I'll also send you. I'll send you the booking link, and then once you've booked, you can add him on Discord and ask him any questions if you want, or you can just do your research on Twitch.
Yeah.
Sorry, just give me a sec. I'm just getting his booking. And that's his booking link for when, if you're ready. Or if you want to think on it, that's fine.
I have a question, just like for your going to be your personal opinion. If do you think technically the person needs?
Sorry?
Do you know the person?
Oh, Nice. Yeah, I know Nice. Sorry, yeah.
Do you think his the prices for his time are valid?
It's a great question. So I think for what you'd actually learn as a player, it's not. But for his notoriety and popularity and the experience of getting coached by Nice, he has set that price because he can set that price and people buy it, if that makes sense. So it's almost like capitalism, right? It's capitalism in its finest, where people can sell their feet for like $60, even though you could see feet for free on Google. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really what people are willing to pay for him, regardless of the actual value or return they'd get. So I think if he can charge $300 and people buy it, I think then it's technically worth it, right? But if you're actually looking at value for money, you could get 5 to 6 sessions with a challenger coach and learn, 5 to 6 times the amount that you could learn compared to one session with him where he just rages at you. Because I don't know if you've seen his content, but for a Diamond 2 player, I wouldn't want to be taking advice from Nice, no offense, because he's just a similar rank, if not slightly lower, because he kind of cheeses his way to climb to higher elos. Not cheeses, but he just like one tricks, and he one tricks Trind, right? And so it's like, for you specifically, why would you want to learn from a Trind one trick, if that makes sense? Because you're an 80 carry, and what he'd be telling you to do is he'd just be yelling at you while you play and be like, rotate, do this, get that CS. And I think it's things that you probably already know in your head, and so you wouldn't learn anything. Whereas maybe a beginner player who's a millionaire and they're happy to spend $300, for sure, they will learn something from him. But yeah, that's a long answer. But no, personally, I don't think he's worth it. But I think people out there think he's worth it, and therefore he can charge that much.
I mean, I think it's like just insane, but as you say, when people are up to pay it, like, why will he go down with the price when people actively buy from him?
Yeah, and it is insane.
I remember when like years ago, you probably also know Vega V2, right?
Yeah.
I remember when one coaching session of him was like $25.
Yeah. And now it's up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like 100, or I don't know.
Yeah. And again, it's demand, right? So he's probably booked out for what, weeks in advance, right? So
Yeah.
he goes, well, oh, I don't have to charge $25 an hour anymore. I can charge 50 and still have 2 weeks of bookings. And then, oh, cool, I can do 75. And it's like, it's every scaling capitalism model out there. Is like, if your time is booked up and you're only charging 25, well, you just go up a little bit more and see if people still book you. Then you charge a little bit more and then a little bit more. And you keep going until you find that point where it's like, okay, cool. People won't pay me any more than $150 a session. Okay, I'll keep my prices at 150.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think the value, so like, I don't think you would necessarily learn more from Vega V2 for $125 session than you would have for your $25. But he's just in demand and he's popular. And so that's the price you have to pay. And that's why usually finding lesser known coaches is a great way, particularly for someone like you, getting slightly less well known coaches who still have reasonable prices.
Yeah, and like I can say I have had in the past, for example, coaching, and I don't want to say that it was useless, but like I feel like a lot of people claim they can coach any role, but in reality, they can only give like general advice, but like
not
but
specialist.
when they don't play ADC themselves,
Yeah.
the input is
Exactly, and that's why I think you always, particularly for your rank, I think below like D4, you could get a generalist coach, right? And that's actually what I do personally. I help players get to diamond, and then I pass them on to my challenger coaches, because I'm like D1, but I play Phil. So like I know all roles up to a D1 level, and then I can get to masters if I like one trick my main roles, which are like mid or support. But Coach Saj, he's an 80 carry main, so he's going to be able to give you everything you need to know to get that. But yeah, sorry.
Do you play Phil for fun, or has it a specific reason that you play Phil?
There's two reasons. So one, I do it so that I can coach better, because I have clients that are every role. And so if I do what Nice does and just one trick Tryndamere to the highest rank possible, I'd start losing knowledge on what is the top lane meta, what is the bot lane meta, all that kind of stuff. And then the second one as well, I have a bit of a theory that if you are playing at or below your true rank, so like your natural skill ceiling where you can't really get any higher unless you get someone else to start helping you, I have a theory that playing Phil, if you're confident you can play all roles, gives your team the better chance and the more likely chance of them getting their primary roles and therefore winning the game. So your team will statistically get less autofills than the enemy team, and therefore you have a statistically better chance of winning, if that makes sense, because you're filling up the autofill spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think like consistently wise, I feel like every second game or something has at least one autofill in either one team.
Yeah, especially as you get higher ranks. I know in my region, because I play OS, which is a much smaller region than EUS, and so you probably wouldn't find this until you get to Challenger, but you notice when EUS Challenger streamers stream at really high ranks, it's like, oh shit, there's there's 4 mid laners playing, and they're all queuing up at the same time, and they just keep getting each other, but only one of them gets the mid roll on each team,
But you play on the OCE?
Yeah,
server?
OCE, yeah.
Oh,
because I'm from Australia.
How will you compare the high elo to like EOS? Because I have friends on there, and I have friends who are like, they're like GM Challenger, but sometimes when I watch them stream on Discord, they don't look like the EOS Challengers.
Yeah.
Like maybe my judging is wrong. But at the same time, they're making like not seriously fun of me, but like friends
Yeah.
fun, you know,
Yeah.
like joking around that I'm just master, you know.
So again,
But
there'll be no real answer to that, but it's similar to like football, right? Your best European football team versus Australia's best football team. Who do you think's going to win? Like the European team every single time, right? Because you guys just have a bigger population, there's more structure, there's more foundation, there's more competition, right? So it's like
yeah,
you guys have a bigger pool of talent. Therefore, your top talent is going to be better because one, they've had to climb through a lot more, but two, there are a lot more players statistically up at the top levels. For example, your D2, right, in EUS, that's the top 55,000. I think D2 in OS is like the top 5,000. So it's like, it's a crazy difference, right? And so I think, yeah, it is easier getting to Challenger or GM in OS because the pool is smaller.
okay.
So I don't think it's, you know, Challenger OS doesn't equal Challenger EUS, but then, you know, there's examples of like Midbeast, who's like a top 10 to 20 OS player, and he can get to Challenger in certain regions, but he also struggles, like, you know, if he goes to the Chinese Super Server as an example. And so the only examples we can use are really the streamers who do boot camps overseas, and then you go, oh shit, how high can he get? And then you use that as the benchmark. And there's a couple of other examples of OS players, like, for example, there's some in the NALCS who can get a challenger in NA, right? Because they move to NA and they can get there. But again, there'd be some challengers who might not be able to crack, you know, EUS challenger or NA challenger.
Yeah. I have a question because you asked at the start if like this account was boosted. If you thought like I don't know if you did you look up the account before we had the session?
Yeah, it's just
Like
you have a 46 games played on Katarina at an 85% win rate.
yeah.
And then you all of a sudden switch to 80 carry. Like Katarina is a known boosting champ, as an example. So
Yeah, but but I mean I understand that, you know, but like, you know, it
it's a
won't
compliment, right? If
benefit
you
me, you know.
didn't get boost this account, like it's a compliment, because I thought at first glance it looks like a boosted account.
Yeah, that is like at first when you asked this question, it made me a bit ashamed. Like what?
Yeah,
But
well,
you know,
because you very rarely see accounts that were, you know, Silver 4 last season, Gold 2, and then all of a sudden they go to D2 in 90 games with a 71% win rate, and they've got a champion like Katarina, or like if I saw Yi as another example, and then all of a sudden they switch to 80 carry and they have a 55% win rate in their last 20.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah.
But, you know, it's pretty impressive.
Is there anything that you will like, or like that you would have thought or wanted to say about the OPGG, or one, like, let's say for example, this is like where I only played ADC, where there's no Katarina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The thing about the last season ranks accounts, I just want to say, is when, like, I don't know, like usually if the account is not like ranked like last season and you have like, I don't know, like higher win rate, then you already get it like top 4 playing against Diamond 1 and Split,
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah, you
you
get
know,
put
a
into
bit nicer for the win rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but is there anything you would have said or want to comment on based on what you see on the OPGG?
Yes,
Likewise?
for sure. So if we didn't talk and I didn't get context, I would say you should keep playing Katarina up until you drop below a 55% win rate on her. Because I think, you know, looking at these stats and not hearing your story and what you want to do, it doesn't make sense to me that you'd switch to 80 carry, right? Because why would you switch to 80 carry where you've got a 61% win rate in your last 23 games, whereas in your last 50 you've got 85% on cat? Like, statistically, it makes sense. You'd play the cat every time.
Yeah.
So that is the main thing I'd say. And then I'd also be like, why the fuck did you go to 80 carry? And then I'd probably be like, okay, this guy clearly plays 80 carry to get to a certain... Well, my first assumption is boosting because of Katarina, but then my second assumption would be, okay, this guy likes to play Katarina to get to a certain rank, and then he switches to the role he wants to learn, which is like 80 carry. So he gets to play and learn AD carry at a much higher rank than maybe he could get to as quickly as if he tried to go, you know, a whole account on AD carry from like unranked to D2. You can get there much quicker just playing Katarina to D2 and then switching to AD carry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say just keep playing your Katarina because like it's fucking insane.
But like I feel like my mid, for example, is like fine like until like D3 D2, but I feel like compared to like I have been always maining ADC, and I think compared to any other role, ADCs I feel like the only role where a player could sit back and just get like good CS, like ADC does not need to rotate, where like I don't know, like it's mid lane. I can not just
you just got to show up at the fights with a lot of gold. Yeah. And you've got a support who's technically protecting you the whole game, but sometimes they leave. But so it's a lot more controlled. Yeah. But again, like I think you're letting not just emotion, but I think emotion and preference of how you want to play League get in the way of what's the most efficient way for you to climb. And, you know, it's because we're humans. If you were an AI robot who's trying to get this account to GM in the fastest way possible, it'd be play Katarina forever. But you're a human and you like AD carry, and I think you like the role of it being a bit more stable and predictable, and, you know, that you like kind of scaling up into being the carry for the game. So I think, you know, playing AD carry makes perfect sense. Awesome. We should wrap this up. We've been going for a long time. But yeah, I sent you the booking link. I've sent you his Twitch. Once you get the book, once you submit the calendar link, I'll give you his Discord, and you can get in touch with him. And yeah, you can go from there, as well as, you know, the question you asked earlier. Yeah, you can ask me any questions after this call as well, even if you don't book straight away, or you're going to book in a week or whatever. I don't care. I'm always here. My DMs are always open.